So now you've seen us talk about our best and worst matches of WrestleMania history. We're going to talk about our 5 top and 5 worst WrestleManias from WrestleMania 14 onwards to WrestleMania 27. And guess what? 14 and 27 are in this list. You guess which list they're on, guys. We're the British Fist, of course. I am Mr. Parkin, wearing the same shirt. I always wear the same shirts at weekends. And this guy sitting next to me, NJ. Now, he's all right. He's not really suffering from anything. He's just happy to be doing this video, aren't you, NJ?
What's up?
And that's NJ talk for, yes, I am enjoying this video, Daniel. Anyway, subscribe up above, like this video, and comment any thoughts you have. Give us your top 5 manias, top 5 worst manias of all time. It could be all time. It could be between 14 and 25.
And as you do that, make sure you contact us in the link box below.
Yeah, and before we go on to this, though, I'm well aware that there are good WrestleManias before 14, and there are really bad WrestleManias before 14, but we only did 14 to 27, so we're going to do 14 to 27.
And also, the thing I want to point out is the good and bad. Yes, there's going to be more good WrestleManias or good moments of WrestleManias, or there's going to be more bad ones, but we just picked out the ones that had certain things in it that stood out or didn't stand out to us.
You'll see why we picked them as we go into them. The first WrestleMania, we're going to do the top 5 worst WrestleManias from 14 to 27 first. The top, for me, this is the first one we're going to do. For me, this was the worst Mania of all time. Well, of 14 to 27 from the ones we watched. WrestleMania 15. What the fuck was going on with this one, NJ? You had so much shit in there, like the Brawl for All. Just so much crap in this WrestleMania that was just so typical of Russo 1999 Attitude Era overbooking.
Because the thing with this WrestleMania, what I remember when we reviewed it and watched it, is that they had so many wrestlers going in different matches. Like, they're trying to fill up the card as much as they could by having numerous matches, get as much as they can on the card. It didn't really feel like an important WrestleMania.
The only thing that felt important on that card was Rock versus Austin. And when you have a card comprised of 10, 11 matches, and there's only one match that feels special, the rest of them just felt like filler matches, and they were filler matches. And considering, in a time at 1999 where they just had that great year in '98, to follow WrestleMania 14 with a shit WrestleMania 15 makes it even worse, in my opinion. Just such a crap mania, so much filler and so much unimportant stuff going on in there.
Very, very true.
It's that. We can't even mention stuff because it's that forgettable. It is honestly that forgettable. WrestleMania 15. WrestleMania, the next worst one, chronologically, of course, is WrestleMania 16. From what I remember, there was 9 matches, and only 3 of them, I think, the tag team match, the Eurocontinental match, and the 4-way match, were actually any important. And if you look at it, in my opinion, the main event, the fact that it was revolved around the McMahon has made it not as good as it really should have been. And there's just so much filler on this card. It did not have too much going on for it. It wasn't very special.
And it's a bit sad, 2 WrestleManias in a row, they didn't really deliver in a strong way. Yes, the main event had top wrestlers in, so that gives it the justice in that. But the rest of the card, it didn't really feel like a meaningful pay-per-view.
No, really, especially around a time when WWE were creating some very good pay-per-views. Royal Rumble, Backlash, No Way Out, Judgment Day, Fully Loaded. To put out a WrestleMania like this, especially with so many great other sort of B-level pay-per-views, was incredibly disappointing, especially at a time in 2000 when, wrestling was booming in the Attitude Era. Just a terrible, there was 3 good matches, but everything else just felt like filler and was terrible.
And now the positive thing is, well, semi-positive, is we're jumping from 16 to 23, so there's a gap where WrestleMania's getting better.
Or just generally okay, not deserving of the worst list. The next WrestleMania we have is WrestleMania 23, and I think I will always remember this WrestleMania 23 as we watched it, because we kind of judged these by the fact how much we skipped. Now, there was 2 good matches on this card. You had Batista versus Taker, and you had John Cena versus Shawn Michaels. They were very good matches. You also had that whole Donald Trump versus McMahon thing on there, which was a big draw of the pay-per-view, and some will argue whether that was good or bad. There was so much filler in this pay-per-view, and there was just so much filler there that it really took away from all the other matches that we had. And the fact they had Batista, the Royal Rumble win, the World Heavyweight Champion, the top guy on SmackDown versus Undertaker with the streak and the Royal Rumble win, I believe, not anywhere near in the mid card, just makes it even worse.
And the fact we're getting to the important time, the new year and all this stuff.
The new generation.
That's the way to see it. It's a bit of a shame that we're having to count this, but it just didn't feel good. Just had big names in this, like Donald Trump and all that, and wrestlers that had progressed into the main event. It just lacked.
The card had Great Khali and Kane on it. It was just terrible. Let's just move on. WrestleMania 26, in our opinion, was another bad one. If you just go by the first 3 matches, The first match, you had a tag team match which went 4 minutes and was pretty pointless. Sheamus versus Morrison and Truth. You then had Cody Rhodes versus DiBiase versus Orton, which did no good for anyone in that. We saw how long it took Cody Rhodes to get back. Ted DiBiase's pretty much gone, and Orton is now a boring babyface. Then you had Jack Swagger winning Money in the Bank. I mean, that was the worst start to WrestleMania I think we've ever had.
The thing is, all that would have been a way to progress new stars into the main event. But each match after WrestleMania either changed plan or failed.
Swagger winning Money in the Bank.
That could change.
Worst title reign of all time. Oh my god. You also had Jericho and Edge was supposed to be a great match, but really disappointing. I think it's because Edge was still slightly injured. You had some good matches on there, but not enough to really tip this into a good WrestleMania, in my opinion. Yes, it may have had some decent matches, but the WrestleMania didn't do what WrestleMania was supposed to do. Help really further along the business and really give that sort of big feel. The only real big feeling match on there, well, there was 2. You had Cena and Batista, 2 top guys of the company at the time. We saw from WrestleMania 21, and Taker versus Michaels, and that was really it.
Pretty much, that's all it really gave us.
That's all you really remember of it, isn't it?
That's it.
Everything else is pretty forgettable in some cases. But now we get to the worst. WrestleMania 15 was bad, and I don't think this was as bad as 15, but it was still terrible. WrestleMania 27 last year, we lived this. Just take your pick.
And as you heard in our review, we ranted this down to the ground because there's so much bad in this, and it was sad because 27 had wrestlers in it that obviously were at the top of their game, getting somewhere, but the match just didn't deliver and just felt flat.
Well, okay, let's just do this. Let's just go through this. You had Del Rio versus Edge open the card, which is bad enough in itself, but you didn't even give Del Rio the belt to really solidify his push. You had an 8-man tag match, which lasted 1.5 minutes with the core in it, and they lost. You also had Jerry Lawler versus Michael Cole, Snooki in a 6-person tag match, which also sucked. Even John Cena and Miz was a crap main event, and everyone was just waiting for Rock. The only good thing on this card, in my opinion, was Rock, just for his appearance and the fact that I got 1 million pay-per-view buys, and Triple H and Undertaker, and arguably Rey Mysterio and Cody Rhodes. Everything else was bad.
And as you've heard from these last 2 WrestleManias, possibly 3, there's only a few matches that actually stood out to make WrestleMania what it is, and that is sad because WrestleMania should have all the matches that have importance to them.
Exactly, and usually a good WrestleMania, you remember a lot more than just 1 or 2 matches, don't you?
Sadly, yes.
But I mean, after that was probably the second worst Mania of the lot. I mean, 15 and 16 were pretty bad, but 27's right up there in my opinion. But now, as we did in the last video, we're going to move on to the positive now. We're going to go from the worst WrestleManias to the best WrestleManias between WrestleMania 14 and 27. And where best to start? The first one we did, WrestleMania 14, the solidification of the Attitude Era. This was a good Mania, wasn't it? I enjoyed this very lot, and it did a lot for the company, which is why it ranks there very high.
Actually, it gave us a good start to our review series that we were doing. It gave us a real positive feeling because we had wrestlers in there that were putting on great matches and great introduction to the future of the WWF, WWE.
Exactly, and the Attitude Era, which would be one of the best eras of all time in WWE history. We'd kill to live those days again. But I mean, you had matches like Austin and Michaels with Mike Tyson as a special guest referee. Undertaker and Kane was a really big anticipated match, wasn't it? And you had that great dumpster tag team match, Chainsaw Charlie, Terry Funk and Cactus Jack versus the New Age Outlaws, Triple H versus Owen Hart. You had a lot of good stuff on there. You even had the return of LOD as well, which was pretty good. I mean, there was so much going on. There was so much good going around this WrestleMania.
Yeah, with it being the 14, as we said, there's so much good things to it, and again, we've got so many more WrestleManias coming up.
And just like WrestleMania 3, it's one of those iconic WrestleManias which really helped launch an era, which was good for the company. WrestleMania 3 launched the Hogan era, and WrestleMania 14 launched the Attitude Era. You could argue that one of the ones we're going to argue here is going to launch another era, but we'll move on to that soon. The next one is WrestleMania 17. Now, a lot of people will like WrestleMania 17. It came at a pretty good time for fans, for young fans, such as ourselves that are like 22, 23, whatever. We was pretty young at the time. End of the Attitude Era. Even though this WrestleMania had bad and negative aspects in that it ended the Attitude Era essentially from top to bottom. This is probably one of the best WrestleManias of all time, in my opinion. Top to bottom.
Well, the WWF really looked at this build up to this WrestleMania, did their real all, gave it the best, and they even know that this is going to be their best WrestleMania just because of what it delivered and gave us out the whole match.
Exactly. I mean, you had Rock and Austin, which was a great match. TLC 2, Triple H versus Undertaker. You even had that gimmick battle royal, which is a nice little staple in there. You had Benoit versus Angle, Shane versus Vince. There was a lot of good matches on that card that you can remember. The Hardcore match. There's a lot of good stuff on this Mania, a lot of memorable stuff, which makes it a top Mania.
That's very true, and 17 is always going to be one of our favourites, as well as yours, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sentimental favourite, as well as from top to bottom, a very good WrestleMania. Another good WrestleMania, which we thought was good, mainly because of the supercard, was WrestleMania 19. I mean, you look at the last 5 matches: Jericho, Shawn Michaels, great match. Booker T versus Triple H, Hogan versus McMahon, Austin versus Rock, Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle. You know, those 5 matches alone make it such a great mania. And you had, you know, Rey Mysterio, Matt Hardy in the undercard, tag team title match. You know, so it had one of the worst WrestleMania matches in there, but it was still a great WrestleMania, wasn't it?
With it being so close to the other ones we've done, it shows how much of a time era this was actually giving us. And with this being 19, again, this follows from 17 and just filled up the card nicely, and there was a lot of stuff in this that actually progressed as the years went on.
Exactly, and it's memorable. Yeah, very memorable for the Jericho Michaels match, Vince Hogan, Brock Lesnar's botch. You know, there's so much to remember about this card. Even Nathan Jones not making it. But anyway, we'll move on to the next WrestleMania, which we really did like, and that was WrestleMania 21. The undercard to this was probably one of the best undercards we've ever had at a WrestleMania, in my opinion. Again, there's so much to remember. The first Money in the Bank, fantastic. Orton versus Taker really launched Orton off as a good star. You know, you had Batista and Cena being made main eventers in the main event of WrestleMania 21. Angle versus Michaels, a fantastic pure wrestling match. You know, I think you know you had so much good on this card, so much to remember. And again, WrestleMania 21 launched the next generation of superstars in Orton, Batista, and you know, Orton, Batista, and Cena.
It also gave us bad matches. This was the time where Big Show was going all through rubbish stuff, like Al Capone.
Oh god!
But let's go past that. But this WrestleMania, we're not going to bolt it. It was definitely a WrestleMania that we're going to like and feature. You know, maybe not as much as the other ones, but it's definitely a good WrestleMania to go on to the future.
Again, just like WrestleMania 3 and 14, it was another one of those WrestleManias that really did help define an era. And it had some really good matches on there. They seem to be doing a lot of stuff right going into WrestleMania 21. And even provided, you know, one of the greatest matches we were going to see at WrestleMania in Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels. A great match. From a pure wrestling standpoint, I will say. So 21 is definitely up there on the top 5 that we watched.
The first thing I want to say now is coming up to here, the WrestleManias did slip a little bit, but they still had their moments.
They still had their moments, yeah, but they're not good enough to be included in the top 5, essentially. I know this is... We approach your moment now, NJ. I know you wanted to make a special plea to WrestleMania 25 because I know you feel you have very strong feelings for WrestleMania 25. Do you want to let the YWC know what these strong feelings are?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that, yes, as I said with 21, there was bad things that started to come into WrestleManias, but with this one, yes, you can pick up the faults, but this was probably the last good WrestleMania before they started to go a bit down at 26, 27.
Exactly.
So this was the last one that actually did justice and gave me good matches. Matt Hardy versus Jeff Hardy, awesomeness. We had Taker, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H Orton. Even though you can fault the Triple H Orton, it's still the way it was done, the way you look at it, as the build-up especially, was very nicely done for this WrestleMania.
I know you like WrestleMania 25 a lot, but I do want to provide a bit of an argument here between us two. I didn't think WrestleMania 25 was all that good. I thought Triple H and Orton was well built up to, but very disappointing. Taker versus Michaels was by far the best thing on this card, and it wasn't the main event. Matt and Jeff was pretty good. No, but the problem I felt with this WrestleMania is that everything they did here wasn't as good as what they did at Backlash. And to be honest with you, all the good stuff should come at your main attraction of the year, WrestleMania, not at a B pay-per-view in Backlash. And that's why, to me, will always be a tad disappointing, even though they did have some good stuff on this card.
That's true. Stuff should happen at WrestleMania, but WrestleMania obviously led on to Backlash. So in a way, it's helped to make the feud go on to Backlash. And also, this was probably the last WrestleMania before they started going downhill.
Exactly. So that's pretty much our top 5 best and top 5 worst. We've also some individual bias in there too, either way, you know, because, you know, we're fans of different things and we want to get that out there. So really, if you guys have any other different opinions than us or same opinions, or, you know, want to give us your thoughts on the best and worst WrestleManias, and I know there were some really good ones and really bad ones before WrestleMania 14, but we didn't watch them, so we couldn't really comment on them.
So what I'm going to say is that you're probably going to say, oh, this was the first WrestleMania I watched, it's always going to be my favourite. So just give us your good and the bad WrestleManias in the comments below, just so we can see why you like certain WrestleManias and why you didn't like certain WrestleManias.
Yes, indeed. And as we're recording this before WrestleMania 28, again, we hope that you enjoyed WrestleMania 28. We hope that you enjoyed our WrestleMania review series, and we hope these videos are providing you some good insight and some good, because we want to hear your responses and we want to, hear more from you guys.
And let's hope that this 28 makes it onto the good WrestleMania list.
Oh yes, let's hope it does, NJ, because they have done it okay. They have got it with 3 big matches on there, so hopefully those 3 matches will deliver. Anyway, Well, to be honest with you, this is the last sort of WrestleMania related video we're going to do in a while, isn't it? Which is a bit of a shame. WrestleMania season being a big season for us, so it's going to be a bit of a shame, isn't it? Going past WrestleMania into Extreme Rules.
A real shame, but all I can say is that we've enjoyed watching these past
yes.
WrestleManias, giving you our feedback. We want your feedback now. So from Mr. Parkin and me and Jay, give us the good, the bad, and the ugly. Until next time, people, keep smiling and goodbye.